What's up, guys? In this video we're going to add 2 more steps to our snowfall simulation. After the previous step, here's where we left off. We've got a bunch of snow and it falls due to gravity, and when it hits the bottom we reset it at the top to create the illusion of more snow without having to add more objects. So today we're going to add wind to push it left and right, which seems like it'll be pretty easy. It's just a number that moves them a little bit one way. Then we're going to add parallax to create depth. Right now it's all flat 2D, which of course it is on the screen, but we want it to look like we're gazing through a mile's worth of snow, and some of it is close and some of it is far, and that affects how they look and how they move. So let's give it a shot. I'm going to start with the wind being 0, and then we'll change it a little bit randomly throughout the simulation. I might add a little bit at the bottom. I'll say wind plus equal random.random, which is a number between 0 and 1, because we want this to be a tiny number. And then if I scoot it back 0.5, that'll be half to the left and half to the right. So let's use that to push them around and see how it looks. Now I have a choice. I can put this inside the snowflake to move them around, since the only thing they ever have going on horizontally is the wind. I could just put that instead of Vx. But I kind of want the snowflake to have only its own business and not any external stuff. So I'll have the wind push it around from outside rather than the snowflake move itself from inside. I'm going to say snowflake dot Vx equals wind. Let's just hit run and see how that looks with obviously way too strong of a wind. You can see they're flying off screen before they get very far at all. So what we need to do is tone it down, cut the wind in half or more, and then we need to add a wrap so that when they hit the edge, more come in, or the same ones come in from the side. If we do that, we can say self.x equals self.x modulo width, and this is easier than wrapping it vertically, because when they hit the top they have to reset their velocity and maybe other things too, but when they come in on the side they're still the same as they were, just other ones falling from the other way, you know. So right now if I run this, we're going to see the wind's still too strong. They're still getting pushed around in a weird way, but we don't have a big dead zone of black screen, because anytime they fly to the left they're going to come in on the right again, and that actually looks pretty nice. Let's cut the wind down. I'm going to say, just to make a big difference, I'm going to say divide by 10. If you ever change something a little bit you might not notice, but if you change it a lot, well, dividing by 10, that's going to make a big difference, and we'll see right away that they're being gently blown around, and sometimes randomly the wind will build up to the left before canceling out to the right, but on these it looks all right. Now let's add the next thing, which is the parallax. I want some of them to look like they're really close to the camera, which means they're bigger and they're faster, and I want some of them to look like they're very far away from the camera, which means they're smaller and they're slower. If I had Usain Bolt run right in front of me, he would take up my whole view for just a second, but if I had Usain Bolt running on the horizon, he would take up a tiny portion of the view for a while. So let's have a different size for each one, and then we'll let that affect how they move. Right now they all have the same radius, so let's change that. Let's say random.randrange 10. That'll just go 1 to 10, and then we can use those for affecting their movement. I'm going to have a parallax property that might be useful. Let's say, okay, I know if I'm doing some of them times 10 it's going to be way too much, so let's say divide by 10, just again as a guess. We don't want to fine-tune the numbers too much, because if we get married to them then they'll just be ruined by the next change anyway. I want to make some general guesses and see how it happens. So now in here I'm going to have the parallax affect the movement, which means the big boys will be faster and bigger, and the little ones will be slower and smaller. Are these going to work? I don't know. Let's hit run and see what happens. We're going to have a variety of sizes, and you can see right away that it looks different because the ones that are tiny are falling pretty slow, and the ones that are close are falling relatively faster. It's not that big of a difference. But I think this looks more natural. It looks more deep. It looks like there are some close to the camera and there are some very far. We could go even stronger and have some like really big. If you see a movie that wants to appear realistic, sometimes they'll have like things splatter on the camera in a war movie or some kind of handheld situation to make it appear as if you're there. Right now I think the ratio is a bit off. I want more little ones because right now it looks like almost everything is close to the camera and then we just have a few in the distance. I'd rather make them stretched out and smaller. So I'm going to use a little trick here to get some small guys, which is to go random.random squared and then times 10. So now instead of 1 to 10 an even chance of all of them, it's going to be 1 to 10 more of the little guys. However, this has a problem of some being really small. They might be less than a pixel. So we'll round up. We could just do round and then +1, but I'm going to import math and then use math.seal, which is short for sealing. So now if I hit run, you might not notice the difference at first, but what's going on is that they're mostly little ones and then a few big ones, and so it creates the appearance of looking through a long landscape of snow. Some of them are at the medium distance, some of them are super far, and then a few are close. And this, in my opinion, looks really nice. It looks like we're going through a 3D area, and it doesn't look like we're just tilting the camera or sliding across the screen. It looks pretty nice. They almost look like stars or something, you know? So I could try a blue sky background or some other things. But this is what I want. This is what I'm going to call our first draft. It's finally gone far enough to be called snow, and then we can add much more later to change it, make it prettier or more complex. There you go.